Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. I am Pete Lauterbaugh, and I'm with CPA.com. And today I'm joined by Wayne Slater of Prophix. Wayne, thank you so much for joining us today as we get ready to kick off the 2020 Digital CPA Conference, the November 11th Fast Track Learning Labs.
Oh, thanks for having me, Peter. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's an honor. So, let's just kind of dive right in here. If you would, why don't you just let us know a little bit about Prophix?
Sure. Well, Prophix is a provider of something called corporate performance management software, also known as CPM. And CPM software is a solution that kind of expedites financial budgeting, planning, and also reporting processes. As a company, we feel really lucky to have such engaged and enthusiastic customers all around the globe, and kind of where we sit in the market space, kind of the mid-market is our sweet spot. And right now we're currently positioned as the mid-market leader in that space. And, shockingly, even through COVID, have experienced a year after year growth. So feel very lucky to be in the space we're in and to have such enthusiastic customers.
Yeah, definitely. I think we were lucky in the same way. I think being a technology company, has mostly been a blessing in this time. So, as a DCPA sponsor, what are you looking forward to sharing with participants this year?
Yeah, well, I first off, I think we'd all agree it's been quite a year, to say the least. Like, who knew in December of last year that by March of this year, most of the budgets and plans we'd all worked so hard to build would literally become irrelevant. And we'd be resetting and replanning pretty much in real time. What I'd like to share with the participants is that while this sounds daunting, there is easily accessible technology out there that can really help kind of up your planning game to really make it easier and much faster to budget, while also enabling you to look forward to prepare for the future with things like rolling forecasts and scenario plans. And these are kind of proactive planning processes that can actually help finance be a bit more strategic members of their organizations as well.
Yeah, that's great. One of the terms that I think that we've heard a lot this year is being agile, and it sounds like what you all do is really help firms to achieve that. Is that in line?
That's exactly it. We always joke about the fact that, in finance, we're always working at 100%, 110%. What if we could just find some extra time, take some time out of all those processes that you're working on to kind of allow you to be a bit more strategic, but also allowing you to pivot, giving you the agility and the time to be able to pivot, and then the tools to move forward faster.
Yep. All the words that we've heard so many times this year, pivot, versatility, agility, all that good stuff. So does Prophix have any emerging technologies focused on client advisory services that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah. So why we always like to say the accounting expertise sits with the accountants. There are always technologies available today, new and exciting ones just around the corner as well, that will help further streamline financial processes, while also giving them, this is kind of the power of technology, kind of newfound insights and the time back, like I was saying earlier, to work on more strategic work. So as we all know, most finance teams, we were just talking about this earlier, really kind of, tax doing your day-to-day. And then around the time of the global lockdowns, like COVID-19 immediately pushed the need for more agile planning. In addition to it pushed many of us into a remote office working environment. So not only to react to the sudden market changes or the sudden changes in market dynamics, to do things like such as revisiting costs, cash flow, liquidity, but also, you really to look at things such as planning forward in a much more agile way to help, kind of the organization navigate its way through these uncertain times. So as a result, we like to say, like COVID's kind of pushed the need to revisit how companies kind of plan looking forward, such as things like forecasting more frequently, things such as rolling forecasts, and then kind of build forward-looking scenario models for a varying array of potential outcomes. And actually to do this often, this is something that actually wasn't you really didn't have time to do before. So again, because like we said earlier, you're already kind of running at 110%. So now it's like, many of these cases were too taxing and time consuming to be done properly. And now we like to do, because we're a technology company, we like to say it was very hard to do while you were doing things manually. So manual processes, spreadsheets, we always talk about Excel hell and things like that. But this is where corporate performance management software like Prophix can step in. And really it helps by automating these processes and uses centralized data, which is kind of integrated with all your business systems to expedite the forecasting and the scenario processes. So moving forward, like technologies such as workflow automation will streamline these processes. And moving a bit into the future, it's not even the future, it's really today. Everyone's heard the word artificial intelligence, AI. We're leveraging things such as machine learning that can provide, intelligent insights faster. And then other things such as like natural language AI that can be used to automate data for day-to-day tasks. Basically, again, all these technologies are really there to kind of facilitate faster, more accurate budgeting. Again, like I was saying, scenarios, forecasting, and even things like financial close. But when you look at the overall scheme of things, if you're saving time in forecasting, scenario modeling, budgeting, and close, now you've actually got a bit more time to actually, kind of that lends to your speed and agility that many organizations need to really kind of navigate these uncertain times.
But it gives you time to be proactive, instead of reactive, which I think is also very important, and like you said, we've realized how important this year with everything that's gone on. So, so what makes you excited about being part of the digital CPA community?
I think first and foremost, I'd have to say at Prophix, we're a bit of a unique technology company. Most of us are or were accountants, actually. So being able to help by offering these solutions and helping the community is really the most exciting part of it for all of us. We've all been there once before. So being able to kind of make our jobs kind of easier and get things done faster, maybe reclaim your nights and weekends is really exciting.
Yeah, it definitely helps to know what the person on the other side of the table is going through. So
absolutely.
So what excites you about the accounting profession today?
For me, it's, in some cases, finance sometimes has a stereotype of being maybe not the most exciting and sometimes a more reactive role in the company. And when you look at this, if you can add the kind of the tools for analysis and deep insights, and then also be able to kind of, like we were talking about here, it's always about time, quite often, the Office of Finance has the ability to transform itself into a forward-looking strategic driver that helps the companies, drive towards the company's success. So again, using scenario planning as an example here, if finance were already prepared with a snapshot of what a certain market dynamic or impact to a market would look like, and basically, be able to measure the impact and then plan forward, it would be incredibly valuable to the organization, as it really would be armed with the data it needed to react and then deal with the situation faster.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense, and definitely kind of all ties in so nicely. But so as we look forward to 2021, what's the one trend that's developed over this year that will benefit the area of client advisory services that accounting professionals should seize?
Yeah. We're looking at the need for finance, more specifically the FP&A processes we're beating this to death, but to be more agile, faster, easier to facilitate. We've been saying this for years, but I think COVID-19 has really pushed the agenda on this. More specifically, I would say the incredible need to increase preparing for an uncertain future. We don't have a vaccine yet, right? So how long will this uncertainty in the markets last? Not quite sure. And again, that's kind of where scenario planning comes into play. We've got thousands of customers. Some companies were doing, scenario modeling, while many were not. And, some just simply were citing a lack of time, or it was never an issue, or my company just didn't need to do it. But almost like overnight, like a light switch was turned. It now is suddenly almost a requirement moving forward. To be able to say I've modeled as many possible future states as I can and looked at our ability to survive them. An interesting fact is I go to our web guy. People come to Prophix and any CPM vendor looking for typically budgeting and reporting software. That's kind of what they look at us for. And if you look at our web trends, that's what people will search us and find us on. right around March, April, my web guy came to me and he goes, "Oh my God, look at the increase in people searching and looking for solutions that will actually help them do scenario models. How do I do a scenario model? And what does scenario modeling look like? And how many should I do?" Like all the best practices around scenario modeling, which was really kind of interesting because for us, that was a paradigm shift in what people were looking at the technology to do. So when I get down to it, really what you want to do is be basically I think my message for this event is, you want to be armed with a plan to right size your business or on the flip side, sometimes seize opportunity when it presents itself in these uncertain markets. And what I mean by that is 2020 is probably a year most of us want to forget, but it also hasn't been that bad for some. Like if you ask the grocery stores, the video conference software companies, very much like the technology we're using today, and of course the companies that made toilet paper, who would have guessed their explosive growth at the beginning of the year? And that can also introduce some significant challenges, very much like a massive contraction in revenue or supply chains. Something like this can also be very daunting to navigate as well. And this is where software like Prophix can make planning for these sudden shifts in markets, whether they're good or bad, really quick and easy.
Yeah. I think, something you said there that's really poignant to me is that, as much as we want to forget 2020, we do need to make sure that we're taking these lessons with us into the future. So, Wayne, I could sit here and talk to you about this all day. I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us today. Check out Prophix Learning Lab on Wednesday, November 11th between 1 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And then you can chat with Prophix representatives in the 2020 Digital CPA Resource Center. Again, Wayne, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter. Cheers.
Take care.